Hey everyone, today I'm going to be doing some work on this New York Central Hudson. Many of you will know me as more of a diesel fan than anything, and I mostly like diesels, especially in O-gauge form, because you can easily, swap out the shell with the base, and, you can have multiple units for a lot cheaper. But, of course, I also like steam engines. It's hard not to like them. And this is one of the models that I do have of a steam engine. And I thought that, I haven't given steamers enough love on this channel, so I guess I'm going to make a video on doing some work on this thing. This is an MTH Proto Sound 1 Hudson. I don't believe it's scale, I think it's semi-scale, but it is pretty big and it's very impressive. It's all die-cast, it's really a beautiful piece. And I actually got this for completely free from my grandfather, who had to exit the hobby. And he gave me some of his stuff, like he gave me a Chicago Northwestern SD60, or at least a couple of those, and those are nice. And some rolling stock, and a passenger set to go with this, so that was really nice. And, well, I'm kind of getting off track here, but this is, I guess, an engine that I don't run as much, but I probably should run it a little more because it's very nice. This you can probably apply to most Proto Sound 1 steam engines, and I'm going to be specifically adding some advanced lighting into this thing. From the factory, all this thing had was a single incandescent bulb up in the smoke box, and that's not going to cut it for me. I want to have some full LED lighting here. So I guess let's get started. The goal here is to have 6 lights, maybe 7 lights. I'm going to have a headlight, the 2 identification lights, I don't know what you really call those, the red marker lights, and the reversing light, which I might or might not do. Before you do any kind of work on a model train, I would definitely recommend getting one of these things. It's just kind of a baking pan that we had lying around and we weren't using, so I kind of converted it into a bit of a pan for taking apart trains. And this is great because if you so happen to drop a screw or something, this will just catch it, and you don't have to worry about it going on the floor or whatever. So that's really nice. And then I also have one of these magnetic trays for keeping the screws in, and these are really helpful too. Let's take this thing apart. Here are the tender electronics. We can just kind of put this to the side. Here's the tender shell. Okay, so upon closer inspection, it looks like it might be harder than I thought to put in the marker lights at the back. I'll still try it though, but I'll have to take that very slowly. And then as for the reverse light, I think that I can do that easily. Now, you may be wondering how I'm going to get the power into the tender, or into the lights. And I don't want to have to deal with any of this. I don't want to accidentally mess any of this up and then screw up the operation of this engine. So I'm probably going to run a couple wires from the engine to just give those lights power, and I'll show you how I'll do that and the specifics of that. That'll just be a couple extra wires, and that will basically permanently tether the engine and tender together, which I think I should probably do because I don't want to unplug and plug this too much, or else that might kind of ruin the connection. But anyways, let's take apart the locomotive. we have the engine shell off. That's pretty heavy. Okay, so I want to explain something. The LED, the incandescent light in there burnt out, so I replaced it with an LED light strip, and yeah, it looks like shit. I'll be honest there. It's just held in place with really crappy, it's melted. Like, I put the, I kind of secured the light strip to the smoke unit, and surprise, surprise, this got smoke fluid all over it, and it kind of melted a little bit too, so that's just great. I don't know what I was thinking when I put this in, but I'm glad I can get it out now. And this is connected to a couple points in there, so we can just remove that. I'm going to throw this out. That I don't think that serves a purpose to anyone. Alright, I'll just kind of clean that off there. And you can see the inside of the engine is actually pretty simple. There's not much going on. That's because all the action is in the tender. But here we have this massive-ass motor. And what I'm planning on doing here is making the lighting directional. I'm just going to attach one wire to here and one wire to here. And since the motor is a DC motor, at least I believe on this model, it will kind of change the polarity, and if the engine's moving forward, the forward lights and the marker lights will be on. But if it's moving backwards, there won't be any headlight at the front, and the reverse light will be on, and the marker lights at the back will be off. If you get what I'm saying, just adding directional lighting. I'm going to test this because on some models it's different with the motor and whatever and the voltages. So I'm just going to test that out and see how well it works. Alright, I went and tested with this blue LED to see how the motor would work, and it works pretty well with the directional lighting concept. So we're just going to kind of take off that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to see just kind of how we can fit the lighting in some areas. Alright, so this is going to be pretty simple up here. I believe there's enough room to put a green light here and here, and then, of course, a sort of clear, if you could say that, just kind of the headlight there. I haven't settled on a headlight color yet. It's probably going to be like a yellow. But the tender is a little more complicated. I don't actually know if the cast goes all the way down kind of past the lamps here, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, I guess I'm just going to drill this and find that out. So I guess we'll start with that. But I want to show off the LEDs that I use. I use LEDs that you just find off of Amazon. I believe these might be 5mm LEDs, if I'm not wrong. I think these are 5mm, but relative to my hand here, you could probably make a judgment on how big these are. I have some yellow ones that I'm probably going to use for the headlights because I don't want to use the white ones because they're more of a bluish white, and that wouldn't really fit a steam engine in my opinion. We have red, of course, for the marker lights, and then we have green for the classification lights. So that should be fun to all put together. And by the way, I know that the classification lights are for if a second train is following, at least on the New York Central, from what I've heard. But I don't really care. I just like the color on the front of the engine, so it's just, I'm just having fun here, so I don't think it really matters. So let's see how this is all going to work out. Alright, the first bit of action we're really going to do here is we're going to drill out the lanterns there, the rear lanterns, and then eventually we're going to drill that out, but we're going to start with the two smaller ones. Of course, you're going to want to start with your smallest drill bit, or at least a small one that's robust enough that it's not going to break. In the, what's it called? The Die-cast, yeah. I'm forgetting how to speak here. But if you're not super experienced, I don't really recommend that you try this. I'm pretty experienced with this sort of thing. So I'm just going to start. It's kind of tricky because sometimes if you're adding details to something, it's easier to maneuver the piece and not the drill because the drill is usually heavier, but I think this piece is heavier than the drill. So I'm just going to start drilling here. Okay, I got lucky with this one. You probably can't tell at all, but I was able to drill out this one all the way through. I might widen it eventually, but that was just the pilot hole. But in there, right kind of up there, you can see a hole. I don't think the camera's picking that up, but trust me, it's there. Alright, I have finished drilling the holes. I needed about 4 drill bits, or actually no, I used 3 drill bits. I used some of the smallest ones to start the holes in the marker lights, and then I just whitened that with the wider one. And then I used that same one to do the pilot hole for the reversing light, and then I used a bigger one that was about the size of the LED that I was going to use for the reversing light. Here's the sort of LED fixture setup for this part. I have the 2 marker lights and then the reversing light. And they're wired up so when the polarity is switched, one will be on but the other will be off. Like the marker lights will be on but the reversing light will be off, and vice versa. So that's just kind of the setup here, and now we're gonna, get this whole thing put together, and we'll see how it works. Okay, I have kind of the assembled light fixture for the tender, and I have a nice wire that has, I guess, kind of a very neat coating around it, so they'll look nice going between the engine and the tender. So let's just get this installed. Yes, I'm going to use glue while I'm installing this. If you're going to use glue, I'd recommend hot glue, but I don't have a hot glue gun. And this is going to be pretty permanent, I think, if I do a good job here. So I'm just going to kind of trust this connection to super glue. Okay, I have all the lights glued in place. I tested them. They all look awesome. I definitely would recommend these particular LEDs. They're wonderful. It's $11 for 160 of them in various colors, and you can custom order the colors you want. So this is all set up, and I guess I'll get the tender back together, and then I'll do some work on the engine. So I guess that was the tricky part done. So yeah. Alright, so here I have the lights for the locomotive kind of set up in there. I'm just letting the glue dry. It's basically the same deal as putting lights in the tender, except I didn't have to drill anything. I put the tender back together. The lights look pretty good when they're in there. I'll show you that when I'm done. Then I have the wires coming out of there. And I'm planning on soldering them either to these 2 points here or to the points on the motor, or getting some wires from the motor to lead to the lights. I'm not sure which one is the most efficient or the best, but I'll test all of them. But I'll get that all fixed up in a moment, and we'll see how that all works. Alright, so here is the locomotive after I'm almost done putting it together. I just have to put the engine together and connect these wires. But all the internals for this locomotive are set up. I've already tested it. It all works fine. I just have to get everything put together, and I'll show you running it on the track. So yeah. Alright, so here is the locomotive in its completed state. This whole project took me, I'd say maybe 2-3 hours with a couple breaks. I took my time with it. If you're more experienced, it probably wouldn't take you as much. But I tried to, add as much functionality as I could here and just make it look nice and make it look professional, make it look as if, or at least mostly as if, this was put in by the factory. So let's get started here. I'm going to throttle up. And currently it's set up where no lights are on if it's in neutral. But then I don't know what direction it's going to take off in. Backwards. And you can see the light is not illuminating in backwards. And then going forwards. Those lights do illuminate. And they aren't too bright, but you can see them. I'm going to flip this thing around and show you the reversing lights. As you can see, there's a little bit of white there. That is just the cord going from the engine to the tender. I'm going to paint it black and make it less noticeable. I wish that I could have made that a lot more discreet, but there was nothing I could really do about that. And I think it looks okay as is. If I blend it in, it might look like some kind of piece of machinery or something, and, people won't notice as much. But I'm going to show you the tender. So you can see the red lights. It's a little hard to see on camera. I'll just turn off this light here. But there's the reversing light. But I'll show you the markers again. And those are a very subtle lighting feature, but they definitely add a whole ton to this model. And they work at a slow speed too. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did a similar thing, tell me how it went. And if you have any suggestions on how I could improve on the design, if you're more of an expert, then go ahead and tell me. I think I did a pretty good job on this. I'm usually focused on adding lights into diesels, which is a lot more simple. But this was definitely a learning curve for me. And, I had a set plan when going into this, and I think I accomplished it pretty well. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.